everybody, good morning. As you can see, the kitchen is a mess. All these walls are being sanded and primed, getting ready for new coats of Venetian plaster. Not by me, some other knuckleheads. Anywho, I'm gonna get back to sanding and putting another coat on all this plaster, well, compound. It's not really plaster. Fix all these transitions, sand it, coat it, so these guys can continue their plaster work over this. And then, what I did not show you, because I've been busy, is the new cabinet is in place. We're gonna have to get some new plumbing. Now, let me show you something where it's at. There we go. This bad boy happened to be right there. So I had to knock that out. I knocked out the tile next to it. So I'm gonna show you a little trick later how you can do this, at least how I'm gonna do it. Put wood back here, we're gonna glue it to the back, secure it. The next day we'll take the pieces off, sheetrock, and then we'll be able to install these. How that one's out of the way. I prefer that over there so it matches that one, but it's an old bathroom. We're not gonna go crazy and start knocking every damn tile out. This will be just fine. And I'll put the other blank tile I was able to get off, which was here on this side, and then regrout it after it's all cured, and that won't be an issue. Down here we have a little bit of a plumbing offset. You can see that. So got a new P-trap here with those little flexibles, which I do not recommend, but it's the only option I was able to get that would work, hopefully. We'll find out when we get to work. All right, here's my setup, what I like to use. This is a 100 grit. I usually like to use 120, but it's what I have. Tape the vents on the side so it's all pulling through here. Vacuum, obviously. And for you homeowners out there, this is the port that'll ruin your day. Watch. See all that? Just buy this. It's worth every penny. Another little pro hack. Soak it full of water. Get out the excess. Then throw it on. And when you turn it on, absolutely no dust is coming out the back end of it. It'll all just be stuck in the filter. All right, now I can start sanding this away. All right, everything's sanded. Obviously you can see how thick that was. It cracked up from the base. It's not a big deal because there's going to be more coats. So everything's sanded. You're going to see stuff like this on the corner bead because you have to build this up so thick. It's like you see that light in there a little bit. You're going to have to bring this out more. Second pass, that'll basically be done. Everything everywhere is all sanded. Now these are the easier ones to do because the knife hits both those edges. So you can strike it down perfectly without having to feather on one side or the other. But what's really important when you do corner bead is you start top or bottom, doesn't really matter. Typically top's easier, obviously, because of gravity. But you really want to keep this dimension the same all the way down. Doesn't matter if it's level. If the post is off, it's off. It's not the end of the world. But, I mean, it's not off, but if it is, it's not the end of the world. But what's important is to keep this the same all the way down and keep this the same all the way down, all the way around. Just measure it as you screw it. If it shifts, take the screw out, put the screw back in. I didn't get to show you the corner bead, but if you don't know what corner bead is, it's this stuff. Now it's got, this part is always going to be sunk in further than the corner. And there'll be another corner here, obviously. So when you do strike it with the trowel, like I showed you over there, it'll be off that material. So that material is going to be filled in with compound all the way down. But that's the corner bead. You just screw it on. Obviously this side and then that side. There's guys that go crazy and they put staples through this all the way down. I've seen guys go absolutely ape shit over it, but you know, to each their own. It's not how I do it because it's not necessary. I've never had one pop, because they will pop if you don't fasten them on properly. If there's movement in the wall or heavy traffic area, if the seam's too close to the surface, you'll see it pop. Like this guy down here, you say you can clearly see it, and it's actually above. I'm not worried at all because we're putting like 6-7 inch trim down here, so that's not a concern. From here up though, it better be perfect. So now I'm gonna vacuum off these walls real quick and get that second coat on there and get on to the next. Now, when it comes to old material, new material, most important thing is the transition. If you look here, there's a bit of a bow here. See that rocking of my trowel right there? So realistically, to make these disappear, I need to bring out the plaster at most likely not one hole, but twice the width of this trowel, realistically. So it's going to be pretty buttery thick here, thick and thinner, so it feathers out. This will never really go anywhere, but when I do my crown molding and everything, it'll help make it straighter, at least in this section, so I don't have to fight with my corner, or not corners, but fight with my straight runs on dimensional lumber or linear feet lumber. This is a better way of saying it. It's always going to be a little off, but if you can do this, see how wide that is already? I mean, can't really tell, but it's around 1.5 feet. Bring it out some more, nice and thick like. Then I'm going to hold whatever side you want to feather out, just hold your finger on that side and push down. The trowel will flex, so push my finger down. See that corner, how it's perfect, no sanding required. This side will be a little different. And then you can just strike it flat across. I'm going to use a sanding pole with a big flat mount on it, so it'll be able to knock this and square it up. The sander won't really do that at first. You're going to want to use a nice big fat flat block. You'll see in the future. So leave it relatively thick because we're going to sand it back down so where it'll be flat. If there's another touch-up, there's another touch-up. It's not the end of the world. But I doubt there will be, but you never know. I never knew. There you go. That'll be a much smoother transition. Alrighty folks, here's the plan. We spoke earlier where this tile was here in the way, so now it's going to be here, right? I'm going to have to clean all these off. Same thing with the other blank tile. See how that it's just better to cut the damn sheetrock off the back, because no matter what, if you're lucky enough to get the tile off and still leave some sheetrock, it's not strong enough really. Just cut the whole thing out. Now, there's many ways to do this. This is just the way I'm choosing to do it because I don't want to cut open that wall in the room that I already finished. That would be ideal. I cut it off, put a block, screw this on, install a tile, boom, be done with it, right? But we're gonna have to do it a different way. So I'm gonna take this block, I'm gonna hand tighten, screw it down in there for a grip. I'm gonna get it in here. Hopefully not drop it. And I'm going to glue it, boom, to the backside like so. And use this board with a pre-drill hole right there. Put a screw through it. Hopefully that doesn't just fall off the wall. We'll try to do our best. And then when that's glued in tomorrow, I can just take that board off, put the sheetrock on, put the tiles on, you know, do all that jazz, and it'll be good to go. Let's see how it works. It's really important. You see those lines I put? Now, when you do that, it makes air pockets. When you pull it, it separates the air pockets, making suction. So that's kind of important. You don't have to do it, but I don't think it would work as well. Clean off your excess because you will be mad at yourself later if you don't, because it'll be dry and there'll be little mountains of glue and your sheetrock won't be flat. You know? Because we're going to put this piece in tomorrow. That'll be the surface for the tiles. So now that that's on there, and I feel it's pretty nice, I'm going to take this bad boy out. The pre-drilled hole is important for this very reason. You just drop your screw through, and it's not hindering anything. And now I can, by hand, get it going in that hole. You see that bit? It's a star bit, it's a T25. Those are the best in the world. You don't ever have to add forcible pressure this way. As long as there's a little bit of movement in the screw, you'll travel with it. If you were to use a long sheetrock screw, it's a number 2 bit. These are fine, but for construction applications where force is applied, it's not ideal. This is an ideal head. You'll see why in a second. See how I'm holding back pressure here? You really don't want to push that off the wall. Switch my hands. There you go. Just snug it down. Now tomorrow I'll be able to take this board out no problem. Glue this piece of sheetrock in that cavity. And once I have these cleaned, I can just install new and then grout and all that, and that'll be beautiful and it'll be functional again. These are things that happen with old homes, and you know, it's hard to account for everything. You know, we're all human, we all mess up. So again, it's not a big deal as long as you can just figure it out and make it work. Take these out gingerly because these will just crack. I just put a dull chisel behind it, and this is super dull. Obviously I didn't use that edge up, I used it this way, so it'll kind of wedge in there. Just super light tapping all the way around, and eventually just popped right off. So that was sweet. And once this was off, I was able to just get my blade in there and just cut around this and take this whole tile out. And now we're at this step. So you'll see later how this looks, and it'll be perfect. Alrighty folks, now that I put away my carpenter hat, let's take out my plumber's hat. This is plumber's putty. Ooh, goody. Show you why I'm using this real soon. Alright, so I'm a big fan of this drain just because it wasn't really meant for this, I don't think, or made for it specifically. It's made solid, it's nice. It's got the air vents. As you can see that vent, that's what allows your water to go down, because there's a channel of air that comes through and backs behind the water. Now, it's got a nice gasket here, but when you put it on, see all that play? And it's touching porcelain on both sides. Or enamel, I don't know if that's porcelain. Anyway, you can feel that rock. So, I'm going to choose to ditch this guy because it's fucking useless. So what I'll do what they do the old school way, the best way. Just make a bead of plumber's putty. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be enough. It should be squishing out, you know? So we'll just take a bead and put it around there. Again, this is not rocket science. It does not have to be perfect, it just has to be all the way around like so. Get it on there. You don't want too much of spooge down there, but if it does, whatever. Now we're going to take this bad boy and boop, squish it down. You should be seeing it come out of everywhere, which it is, so it's good. And then we'll chuck it. Alright. See how it wasn't touching in the back? So that's why I like to do it twice. This stuff's, again, it's like Play-Doh, just pretty good. Because I think when they made the mold here, this was too far down, because obviously these were all touching and this was not doing the damn thing, so that would have been a leak. So just get extra, read all about it. So I'll make a pretty thick one this time. And then I'll start the thick on the back. That's probably way too thick. Stretch you out a little bit. Still keep the thickest part on the back. Work it around, make sure it touches. And now we're really gonna put it in there. There should be no issue now. Look at that. Yeah, that's gonna squoosh out everywhere. There you go. You see it's coming out everywhere? That's what you want to see. We'll leave that be for the moment because we know it's going to be good. And we'll go down to the bottom. All right. Now at the bottom, we'll use an actual gasket they gave us that will work, presumably. And it looks like it should go this way because you see that groove? And this nut is going to go behind it. Traditionally, this would go up, so we'll see. Keep your hand on the top if you can. Or have a helper if you use helpers. Get this bad boy all the way up there. Because this will be one of the first places it leaks. Everything else, you know, if it leaks, you just hand tighten it a little more for the most part. So get this all the way up there. Sometimes that's not flat either, and it's a nightmare. You get your back nut on. Get this up so it's nice and flush. Move it around if you have to. Any plumbers at the back of the room, don't yell at me. I don't have the proper wrench for this, so I'm gonna have to use this bad boy. Just tighten it in quarter turns. You don't want to destroy that gasket. I can feel the plumber's putty squishing out on top of my hand, so that's what you want. Nice and tight. Good and tight. Now when you come up here, you can see all your excess and just clean it off, and that'll be nice and watertight. That back still feels like a big gap. That's a real bummer they did that with that shitty porcelain or molding, whatever they did in the factory. Nothing's made well these days, people. Nothing. I'll probably try and tighten down a little bit more just to see how much more I get out of it. Too big for this bathroom. Yeah, we got a little more squishing out of there, so that's pretty good. That back still feels like crap. Feels like a big gap. Bet you that flange is shaping a little bit, moving around. There's not much I can do about that. I didn't make the sink. I'll clean that up. All right, now I'm gonna take out this old P-trap, always full of hair and everything else that you've thrown in your sink. Now here's the new one. Again, I do not recommend these. All these do over time are split and clog. That's all they do. It's unfortunate, but it's all I have at the moment. So it's gonna go like that. Some stupid wiki wonky. So now we're going to take our extension tube. You always kind of know the extension because they have a flat flange on top. Make sure you use the grommet it comes with, or it's not going to be watertight. Screw it on to your waist. Guess that'd be a waste basket, right? Of a kind. That's on there. This is an extension tube. That's on. PVC, plastic stuff, hand tight. You don't ever want to put a wrench in this stuff. It's not made to be treated that way. Once everything's good and tight, hand tight everything. If there's like stress on it, try and pop one of those so you relieve any stresses. You don't want stress on anything. Stress is bad, people. It'll kill you. Tighten up this no hub, because this is old 2-inch copper. This house has 2-inch copper drain. Isn't that crazy? Like your drain pipe is copper. That's like thousands of dollars. So now it's all good to go. And when you open up valves, you can open them all the way if you feel you need to, and back them off. Same thing when you close them. If you close them all the way, just back it off. You don't want to wrench it down, especially if you don't get to it in 10 or 20 years, you know what I mean? Then it'll be locked open like they were to begin with. So there you go. Let's see if there's any leaks anywhere. Woo. So I'm going to test that first. So I'm going to fill this bowl up. Now that that's got weight in it, obviously, you want to check that bad boy. All right, now that there's no weight, check the flow. Turn the water on. You're just gonna eyeball every seam. You'll see a drip right away around here. So keep that spot clear, or you can throw a paper towel, you'll know right away. Typically, it's always gonna leak here. Typically, if one of these joints was just loose, big deal. You just tighten it down, not a big deal. Or maybe you forgot something. It's always a possibility. So it looks good. Now, I use warm water because it's going to make all the gaps swell, right? So that's what you want to do. And if it's going to leak, a swollen gap will leak much quicker. So use the warm water, not cold. Cold could be deceiving. If somebody comes and washes their hands later, then you get a call back. You don't want that. Well, for those who watched the other video, I love these, but watch this. Full blast, there's water splashing everywhere. It's getting everywhere. You see that? Because these things, they just allow a fuck ton of water to come out. They're beautiful. I love the look of them, but like if you have a house full of kids don't care. It's, I'm washing my hands, and it's splattering everywhere. But if you just turn it on slowly, then it's ideal. Looks cool though, right? Nice waterfall action. And it's easy to clean. If you have like dirty water, this will corrode pretty quick, so it's easy to clean up for the most part. Some not so much, but this one's cool. All right, well, that's the plumbing for that. All right, folks, I'm doing this just because I had new subscribers recently, so if nobody's ever seen this, maybe they'll find it helpful. So we're going to silicone this. You can see the wall is far from straight. There's a big bow here, there's a bow right here. So we have gap, 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 tight, and then tight back here and tighten that corner. So what we're going to do, this is more of the foolproof method. I find it more helpful for people who don't do silicone a lot. It's easy to mess up silicone and it looks horrible when it's done bad. So let's make it look decent. So I'm simply just going to take some runs of tape, obviously, and I'm going to put 2 lines. And I want it to lay over the stone just a bit, 1/8 of an inch. You could do a little more, but it could get ugly if you put too much. So pick a happy medium that you're comfortable with and go with that. So you're going to put 1 run on this surface. The second run goes on the wall. Again, you're going to want it to be around the same. The ideal is get your head down there and make sure it's straight. Straight is more important than how thick, because if it doesn't look straight, you'll notice right away. And get it as straight as you can. So those are the 2 lines you do. And then I'm going to do all this and we'll go over the rest. Now you can see we've got the lines all the way down as you see fit. It's a little thicker here. I'm presuming there's going to be a bunch of splash here from this crazy waterfall. So that's why I'm going to leave that. If it bothers you, change it. And obviously GFCI, because I don't want to be running back to the breaker box. Cool. So let's get this silicone down. All right, now you got your silicone. Don't forget your paper towels. You'll hate yourself later if you don't use them. And we have our water source. I didn't mention this before I put the tape down, but I acetoned all the edges clean. You don't want any residue. You want the silicone to bond right to the material, not the dirt on top of the material, because that's not a bond. All right, so let's get to applying and then we'll get the cleanup. All right, now comes the cleanup. So again, get yourself some paper towels. It's important. And this is silicone, so we're gonna use water to keep it off our hands because they don't mix, right? One's oil, one's not. So make sure your hand's wet and you're just gonna strike away. Now depending on your gap, like you can use a different finger. Finger works the best. All those tools in the world don't do crap. I mean, they do something, but they're not that great. Take it off, wet your finger every single time. Put another finger in there. Take it off, wet your finger, do it again. That's the whole process, really. Now, you're gonna wanna get it consistently off. Like you see how that's feathering out more and it's starting to match that part? That's what you want. You don't want to leave it too thick because when you take the tape off, you'll see a ledge. So, yes, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It'll still look nice. Way nicer than what was there, obviously. Okay, I think that's good. Now we'll start taking the tape off. There you go. Got a nice, solid, clean line all the way around. What is that? That's a little grout. So not too bad, right? See how even it looks though when you do the tape? It just matches the lines of the grout. Nothing stands out. It's really what you don't want. I mean, nothing's perfect, but if it stands out, that's a problem. So make things look good and they won't stand out. People will appreciate your work. There you go, all siliconed in and looking pretty like. Alrighty folks, second day of this, and you can see now, that board's nice and on there, right? So now we can take our sheet of rock, make sure it fits where you want it to. It's good to test it with the tile, see how it's nice and flush, that's what you want. Test both sides, looking nice. Shove some screws in there. Now we've got our backing. So now we can take, I already cleaned off the tile, as you can see. We don't have any crud on the back of it anymore. This one's totally different, it's got little grooves going on. And this wall is not straight like most things in this bathroom, so it's gonna go on as it goes, and then the rest will just be silicone or route it around. So now we're going to take our wall glue. Doesn't really matter the brand. We're going to take a little bit. We're going to slap it on the back of the tile. I'm probably not going to back butter the board first. I usually do, but I want these to sit flush, so I'm just going to glue the tile like so. Then I'm going to take a notch trowel. This is a 1/4 3/16. So it's 1/4 wide, 3/16 deep, I believe. And you're going to create some grooves. Again, if you watched earlier, which most likely you did because you're still watching now, the point of these grooves is to add suction. When you push it, it forces all the air out and acts like a vacuum. So now you can throw this bad boy in here, squish it on. Nice and tight this way. All right, I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to take it out and put it in another direction. These tiles have a little bit of a, see a little tab right there? They're not always perfect. Nothing from the factory is perfect, so take your time, seat it right. If it doesn't fit, rotate it. See how it just went in perfectly that time? That's what you want. You don't want to have to fight with anything. Push it around, get the air out of that glue, make sure it's really on there. And that's one install. Now this one we're gonna do a little different. We're gonna really butter this bad boy up and squish it on there. And then I'm gonna add this support under it to hold it up until it dries. You could tape it, but tape fails and then you come back the next day and your work's on the ground and you're pissed off, And nobody wants to go through that. So this one I'm really gonna squish it on there. And I'm gonna get all the sides kind of filled in and scrape off the excess. So it'll be something like, clean up all these sides because it's gonna spooge out everywhere when you throw it on the wall. And, why create more work than you have to? Now that's kind of a lot there. So where there's the flat points, I will most likely simply just trowel it. But it's still on there relatively thick, you know what I mean? I really wanted to, as much adhesion as I can get, because this is a heavy tile, obviously. So give it what it needs and install it right side up. If you do that, that'll be hilarious. I mean, it's just a brush holder, but it'll do. So now we get it in there and yeah, it's complete adhesion. Like I can't really pull off the wall. That's exactly what you want. And now, clean up all that glue that you could find before you put your supports, because it's going to block you and you can't get to it after that. And then there's my support. Up tight against it so it doesn't want to lean either, It's all the way to this back part. That's what you want. Get some of this glue off my fingers with this nice new sink we did yesterday. By we, I mean me. And there she goes. Get a close-up look. Now you can see it's out a little bit. Now it's back in. It's nice. So obviously this crap will have to be cleaned up. I'll clean up all this glue. Do all your cleanup. Matter of fact, this should shift over. See that line? With that line, you kind of want to keep them close to the same. Nice. So I'm gonna clean all this up now. I could just grout it, but I can't really get to everything with the support, so I'll have to do that completely another time. But if you're ever in a situation like that, now you kind of know a way to do it. There's multiple ways, but this is just one, and I hope it helped. Alrighty, thanks for watching.